discuss with you guys today. So Laulu would be taking over immediately, after which we'll have the question and answer section. So we'll take your questions and your concerns also. So Laulu, are you there, please? Hello, Laulu, can you hear me?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Aga.
Okay, so kindly take over, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, good afternoon. I hope we are all doing well during this trying times of Corona, and we are keeping ourselves safe. So today I will be taking us on. I'll be taking us on understanding WHM, your WHM, and a bit about cPanel. But today we'll focus mainly on WHM, because I know, at least as a reseller, you would have been very familiar with the WHM interface, and I'm very sure there are still some features on WHM that you might not even know about that will be there and be a lifesaver sometime or anytime. So I will start presenting my screen now. So I'll present this slide so we can know what we are going to cover in this section. So can we please confirm if you can see my screen now? Okay, that's great. So like I said, we'll be talking about WHM. So the title of this webinar is WHM Admin Essentials. So it's all about knowing your WHM better, than tips on how tips of things you need to know as a Google reseller that will help you in managing users on your account. So I'll get right to it. So in this session, we are going to cover 4 specific areas. So the first one is managing your users. The second one, managing plans and packages. Then the third one, how you can customize your cPanel interface to match your brand. And also the last one, which is managing your users' DNS zones and or records, depending on whichever is easier for you. So basically, when you use your WHM and you want to manage your user, the most common and frequently used options you probably come across is what's it called? So when you, as a Google reseller, I'm sorry, let me try and log back into the account. Okay, so when you log into your WHM for the first time, you will see something like this. So these are even giving you some very direct options that will help you in getting started in creating your first account under your reseller account. So this one is the most important one, because this is what you will use to see all accounts that you already created on your cPanel account, on your Google's reseller account. So we can see that the main account is the only cPanel account we have inside here, because this is just a fresh what's it called, account, and there's no other account under it. So you will see that the account is owned by that same user, because he's the reseller owner of the account. So this account is very important, because on this same account is what where you will be, we help you create your child name servers on setup. Your child name servers are the name servers that points to the primary domain of your reseller account. So your child name servers can be something like, in this case, we have ns1.org, ns2.webinardemo.com and ns2.webinardemo.com. Okay, so aside the list accounts, we have a few other features there. So if you have created accounts under your Ugo's reseller account, then you probably those accounts have packed domains and probably packed domains and subdomains, but you don't want to log into the accounts, or probably you're trying to work on some statistics at work and you probably need some information about the number of domains, subdomains, and packed domains that hosted on your reseller account. You can easily get the list of packed domains. They are also called aliases. When you log into your cPanel, you will see the options domain aliases. So they are more or less like they are just like another name that you give to your website. So let's say your your website is domain.com, then your domain.com lose one particular content. So if you have another name like probably let's just say ashraf.com, and you want it to load the same content as what domain.com is loading, then you can add it as an alias. That means regardless wherever the domain name is accessed, it will also it will load the same content as domain.com, because they share the same document roots. They share a lot of resources, almost everything together. The only thing they won't share together is SSL, because SSL has to be independent of each other. You can't have one SSL except you opt in for a multiple SSL domain. SSL for multiple SSL certificate, I mean. Sorry. So another option we have here is list subdomains. So this one, obviously from the name, you will find the list of all your subdomains under, and it will give you the information of probably the domain that's as the subdomain. It gives you a whole lot of information. The user that owns it, the subdomain itself, then probably any add-on or packed domain that are still under the account. Then you can also list suspended accounts. Maybe you can also do this one from the list account path. So depending on whichever is convenient for you, because from list accounts you can always sort by the rows here. So let's say we want to sort the accounts by username alphabetically in alphabetical order. Then you click on username here, then it sorts it for you. Then if it's in the case of suspended accounts, then you sort based on suspended. So you can equally do the same thing here as well. Okay, so I'll go right next to managing users. So when you have a reseller account, at least I know the intention is actually to have multiple accounts hosted under it, and you kind of manage the terms at which you provide those services to whoever you're providing it to. So to create an account, you can easily search here for create. Before you type it finish, you would have so I'll wait for it to load up. Okay. So this shouldn't be. This is an error when I was creating the account. Normally, the primary account would be assigned a package that is created under the user. So I think, let me try and see. So the first important thing before you create an account is that an account must have a package or a plan. So depending on the number of resources you want to assign to the user you want to create. So what I would suggest is, probably I think I even arranged this wrong. So I think I will talk about adding packages first. Then I will go back to that, because it's very important that you have packages created before you go ahead to create a user. So I will go ahead and add a package. So let me just call this probably lights.
Lalu,
Yes, please.
please hold on a bit. Guys, please, if you have any questions, please make sure to write them in the comment section so that Laulu can attend to them over time as he's talking, or maybe when he's finished with some parts, so that we can be aligned so that everything is smooth. Please, thank you. Laulu, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So like I said, I'll go right ahead to creating a package. So from the error I created earlier, and I know this can happen to anybody actually. Maybe you probably created a package and you assigned too much resources to it, so it's not allowing you to add more users. So what I will do is I will set this package to have 0 disk space till I'm done with what I'm doing. Then I'll set it back to what it's meant to be. So for monthly, let me say I'm assigning 500 megabytes of bandwidth to this account. Then you can create a maximum of, let's say, 10 FTP accounts. Then email accounts probably 50. Then the default quota is 1 gigabyte. Then we have email list. So for maximum email list, this one controls how many mailing lists a client can create in his cPanel account. So if you want clients to be able to create multiple mailing lists, or you want to restrict them to one, probably to curb the issue of people abusing whatever it is they have. If it's a verified business, then I think they can have as much mailing list as they want. But if it's an unverified business, then I think it's always safe to, what's it called, to limit how much access you give to them for mails, because the more mails they can create is the more kind of abuse they can use with those accounts. And equally, if we get some abuse reports about an account, then we will have to always act. So for mailing list, let me say I'm giving them 5 mailing days, databases, let me say 5 or so. Let me just put on 5 all over. This one you can set it to any particular number that suits you. So then you can, this is very important also to curb. I don't think you can make the changes here, but this will be predefined already in some cases, depending. But even if you don't define it, there is a general settings on the server already configured, which already limits user to send only 60 emails per hour. Then the so in cases of abuse and spamming, the easiest way to identify them, you will have a lot of emails that are failed or rejected or deferred for some reason. If you have a lot of that, then there's actually a suspected spamming going on. So if in this case now, any accounts created on a reseller account sends up to 100 mails and all of them got failed, deferred, or what's it called, failed or deferred, then we get a notification, which is when we then contact. So I will go straight. All this, I will advise not to give client shell access, because
Sorry, Laulu, sorry to cut you. I can't see your screen, and I don't know if it's the same for every other person.
Sorry, can we confirm if you can see my screen?
I can see your screen, Laulu.
Okay. So Ada, I think the issue is clear to you. Might want to
I can see your screen as well.
Okay,
I can see your screen.
very good. Okay. In that case, I'll go ahead with what I was doing. So Ada, try connecting and disconnecting and reconnecting. Maybe that will fix it for you.
I can see it now. I can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so I will go ahead with. So yeah, I will advise not to give shell access. Then in the case of dedicated, you can't even make the changes. But in a case where you have probably you've grown to a stage where you have a server of your own, and probably you are managing your users from the server. So it's always not advisable to give users full, because if you tick this now, you are giving the user full shell access compared to jailed access that they should have, which limits them to their container. So if they have full shell access, they have access to all directories on the server. But if they have their jailed access, then they are limited within their own home directory, and they won't be able to run any what's it called, system programs like installing a server-wide module or stuff like that. So for here, I will just enable CGI access. So any account that is created under this package, you have CGI access. Then this is the only thing available. Then I will come back to feature list because it's still part of the list of what I'm going to talk about. So feature list is a feature that allows you to restrict the features you give to each users on your reseller account, depending on the package they are on. So you can have multiple packages with different feature lists. So for example, now I can have a plan now that probably I don't want users to be installing Let's Encrypt SSL by themselves. I want them to contact me first. So for that plan, I go in the feature manager, which I will still eventually show you. Then you disable Let's Encrypt for that feature that feature list that you created in feature manager. So the moment you put the user on that plan, you won't be able to see the option of Let's Encrypt on his account. So depending on how you want to structure your packages, depending on the kind of audience you are trying to, because too much options available to someone that really don't know how to use something can be a problem at times. Then probably you want to limit them to exactly what they probably need. Then this feature list will do exactly that for you. Then the locale is the language. So depending on, I don't know, if you have foreign clients that need a different language, probably Spanish, then you can change it. But I will stick to English in this case since we are here. So then I click on add. Okay, it's not allowing me to create an account is 0 megabytes code. So let me try one. Okay, that's great. So the first thing I will do, so I've added the package now. So to see the package I created, let me see. I will search for package, then I will click on edit the package. Then I can see the package I just created there. So I have a plan on my reseller account called Light now. And for the Light plan, we have those resources I specified there. So the first thing I will do before I move on is I will change the plan of this main account, so I am able to create other accounts on the reseller account. So I will just click on change plan here. Then I click this and upload. Sorry. Okay. So so let me go back to edit so the package I created before now. So I made an intentional error to fix an issue. So now I want to change whatever it is I did then. So I search for edit a package here, then I click, then I edit it. Then I can change this to, let's say, 500 megabytes or so. No, let me use 1 gig. So you click on save. So So we've talked about adding a package, we've talked about editing a package. Then let's talk about feature manager before we talk about deleting a package, because deleting a package, that means probably we don't need the package anymore there. So, or I'll create a random one, then I'll delete. So feature manager, which is very important in this case. So you search for feature manager, then you click on it. So right now you don't have for any account that has not created one before, you won't see anyone on the list. So you need to create one. So let me say light, since the package I want to add it to is called light. So I add the feature manager. Okay. So these are all cPanel options that you can make available. So what I will do to make it easier for us is I'll select all features first. Then I'll go through to see the ones that I don't want to make available to the user, then disable them. So for like the example I was making before, let me use let's encrypt as an example. So so we can notice the change. Let me log into this account first. So I'll just click on the admin login button, which you can use to log into cPanel accounts without really needing the password. In a case where probably you want to troubleshoot an issue for a client, it can really come in handy. So presently we see let's encrypt this here. So let me go in the feature manager, then disable let's encrypt. Okay, so this less encrypted. So I'll just untick it here, then I'll go down and click on save. So now we have our first feature list on the account. So what I will do now is I'll go back to edit that package I created before. So I add the feature list to it. Okay, so over here, when you click on it, you will see the feature list there. So the moment you click on it and click on save, the changes should have been effected for the user. So I'll just go ahead and load this page. Okay, so now let's encrypt is not there anymore. So like I said, it might be a very useful thing when you want to restrict what you give to people based on probably what they are paying for, or probably for what they need, and you don't want to complicate things. So you can enable and disable features for them. So then I'll go right through to delete the package. I don't think I'll go through with it because we'll still use this account for so the moment you click on the option delete a package, then you click on the package once again and click on this delete, then the package is no more there. But the important thing I think you should take note before deleting a package is consider all accounts that are currently on that package, because the moment you delete the package, they will be on no package, and probably they can use up your reseller accounts resources immediately. So what I will advise is, if you probably want to change them to a smaller package, then you create the smaller package first before you then go ahead. Then you change your plan to that smaller package that you created, then you then delete the larger package, or for whatever reason it might be. I'm just using that as an illustration. So I think that is that about adding packages. So I don't know if anybody have any questions so far, so I can attend to them.
Yes, Laulu, I added the question in the box. I asked what does the feature manager do exactly?
Okay, yes, I believe that's what I just explained now. So the feature manager is basically what you use to restrict what's it called, options in user cPanel account that you want to make available to them. So let's assume now that, okay, on this account now, you don't want the user to be able to add any add-on at all. Yes, you can do that from the package level, and you can also do that from here. At least if the person can create 100 add-ons and there's no option to create the add-ons, then obviously still can't create the add-ons. Maybe it's just I don't know, for whatever reason it might be. But what I'm trying to say is, for all these options listed in cPanel, it is possible for you to limit what is available to users per package, which is what I just did now. I'm not sure if that answers your questions, Daniel. Okay, great. So I'll give a few maybe about a minute to see if any other person has a question before I go straight to creating the managing users, which I skipped the other time. Okay, so I'll take the silence as no questions so far. So I'll go back to
I actually have a question.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I enjoyed it. The question I was going to ask, because what's been actually restricting me regarding this reseller package,
Yes.
is when you see something saying you are allowed to subscribe to a package, but you can only have 30 users. Can I manage the users and have more than 30 users on my package?
Yes, you can, depending on the what's it called. For I think for a certain plan, that should be the plastic plan. I think that one is limited by number of users actually. But for the other ones, I think if you manage your users, your resources very well, then you will be able to have more than well, at least you should be able to eat up to the number of users you're trying to target. Because let's assume now that you have 20 gigabytes of storage assigned to your account, then you probably have a package that gives, let me say, 1 gigabyte of memory of storage, I mean, to each user. So let's assume now that you have about 10 users on that 1 gigabyte package. That means out of your 20 gig, you'll be using 10 gigabytes for just 10 accounts. So you have 10 gigabytes left. So if you have accounts with 500 megabytes, then the number of accounts that you can create obviously increase, because at least from the addition and subtraction of what's it called, based on the number of accounts you have already. If your package have 500 megabytes, then you probably should be able to create about let me see, that should be 25 accounts that we have 500 gigabytes. So what I'm just trying to say is more or less like a game of numbers, depending on how much resources you have. I'm not sure if I answered the question.
I understand. You understand the question, are you?
Okay, great.
But I have one last question.
Okay.
If I should peradventure pay and subscribe today, but I don't have my users on ground, and I pay for a package of 1 year, then maybe the third month I have users signed, maybe my first user that signed up and all. Will the person get the package for a year, or will the person be able to subscribe for
Sorry,
9
you're
months?
breaking up a bit. I can't get that well.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
If I subscribe for a year, but let's say I pay for a year package,
Okay.
and my customers come in the third month,
Okay.
do I the three? On their own package, you would have lapses of 3 months.
Yeah.
So how do I cover up for the 3 months left for the customers, not on my part this time?
Actually, I think you can't directly relate the billing cycle you will give your clients to the billing cycle that you work on. Because if you are saying you paid for a billing cycle, an annual billing cycle, that means you pay on a yearly basis, then you add your first client on the third month. Actually, the clients will be there regardless if what's it called? How will I put it? I'm not sure I'm explaining this one. So what I'm trying to say is the client is there, his own billing cycle started with you the day he paid. So the cycle will go on and on. If you renew your reseller account now, it really doesn't matter because at least you still have the reseller account active. So the account will still be active till his own billing cycle lapses with you. So it's not like the billing cycle must go side by side. Say you paid for an annual this January, then you have a client from by March, then you now started counting the billing cycle for the client since what's it called? No, it doesn't work like that. I think you should try to package your plan such that you consider the client's what's it called, billing cycle. The reseller account will always be there. Without the reseller account is when that account won't be there. So far the reseller account is active, the account will be active, but the billing cycle can't be the same. Does that answer?
Okay. Thank you very much. I understand better.
Okay, no problem. Okay. So I'll go right next to this managing user session. So let's create a new user. At least we have a package now that we can use to create a user. So I'll create a different user. So let's say so you can see I already have an account. That's 1 gig. I assigned 1 gig of disk space to. You can see now that it's reading 1 gig out of 1 gig out of 20 gig. So the moment I create another account, this should change to 2000, which means it's adding all the accounts, the storage of the accounts you already used so far that you allocated to them, is adding them together to get the statistics. And depending on, and I gave him 500 gigabyte of bandwidth. Sorry, 500 megabyte. So that means this 500. If I'm putting another user on that account, this should change to 1000. So and if for some reasons you have a plan that shows, okay, I will try and illustrate that later. So let me go right with it first, so I don't cause confusion. So let's say Webinar Demo2. Let's say this is the demo, domain name we want to create an account for. So it automatically generates a username for it. You can customize it if you want, but most cases I'm not sure. So I always advise people use strong password because yes, it's very fun to have an easy to remember password, but it's one of the riskiest thing that you can ever do in this life, especially when you even use the same password for multiple accounts across multiple platforms. Is really a dangerous thing. So I always make sure I generate password and I keep it somewhere safe, probably using a password manager or probably saving it to a document, saved somewhere secure that can't be accessed. So then it's well, depending on if you want clients to get notification about what is happening on their cPanel account. Then you can contact in your package, which is then CGI say, okay, it already got these settings from the package. So for this, if this mail routing settings is something that used to cause a lot of problem, but people won't notice. So maybe I can try and explain how it works a bit. So this is decided by where the MX record of the domain name is pointing to. So if you are going to be hosting the mail locally on this account you are creating on your reseller account, then it will be best to leave it on local mail exchange. Or better still, to be very much safe, it's always advisable to use the automatically detect configuration. It's always advisable to do that, because the system will run its own check, then set it to whichever one is appropriate based on the MX record the domain name is pointing to. So for local mail exchanger, so if the emails will be hosted locally, then it should be on local mail exchanger. I don't think you will have any reason to use this. I mean, this particular option, I don't think you have any reason to use it. But for remote mail exchanger, let's assume that probably the user have mails hosted on G Suite, hosted on email hosting, hosted elsewhere outside the server, then this should be set to remote. The problem with this is if the mail routing setting is set to remote and the mails are hosted locally, when users on this account want to send out mail, they won't want to receive mail rather, it won't come in, because it will be trying to communicate with an external mail server that is not existing anywhere. But if it's on local mail exchanger, then it routes the what's it called? It routes the request directly to the server. So in most cases, this is always a problem, but in this case, just to be on the safer side, I'll put it on automatically detect configuration. Then it's always very advisable to enable DKIM and SPF for all accounts you create, because this is very important in email delivery. Most email providers these days will not receive any mail that is not DKIM or SPF signed. So if you disable any of these two, then probably you will experience email issues on the account you're going to create. Then normally this will be from configuration, these two name servers will be the child name servers of your domain. This is because this is a demo, then I'm not quite particular about that right now. That's why this is set as this. But normally, it will be the child name servers of your, so that would be probably ns1. What's it called, webinardemo.com, not webinar demo 2. Webinar demo is the main account, so that one is one that we have the child name servers, which is ns1.webinardemo.com and ns2.webinardemo.com. So that will be listed there. But if for any reason, probably an error or something, and probably you need to create the account very urgently, and this is showing, but you don't want your client to see this, then you can specify whatever user, what's it called? You can use the name servers specified on the domain registrar. So the moment you change the name servers of that domain to your child name servers from the whoever the registrar is, if it's under your client account, so you can easily change your name servers from the client account. So if you change it to your child name servers, then you can, the system will automatically get the name servers for them, so that it can include it in the zone file of that account, because it's also very important in routing what's it called, request to the account. So, but normally, like I said, you won't need to tick this, because the right name servers should always be listed there. If it's not listed there, then you definitely should complain to support@ugos.com, so that we can make necessary changes. It could be an error during the creation of the account, or due to several other reasons. And another point to take while picking the name servers you're going to use, any name servers that you are going to use, ensure that it is properly configured before using it. Because if you use a name server that is not properly configured, or not yet even configured, then that domain name pointing to that name server will not be solved. You will wait for what's it called? You will wait for 24 hours. You can even wait for 9 years. It will not resolve until they fix the issue with the child name server. So I will go ahead and create the new account now. Oh, okay. So the problem now is with the username. It has similar username to the accounts we have there earlier. So I'll just make a few changes to that and we can go ahead and use it. So I'll do this. This is what needs to change. Then I'll change this to then just for testing. I think you should choose a very good username for your users, because so that it's easy for them to even remember the username whenever they need it. This is just for testing purposes. So I'll generate a new password and I'll copy it somewhere before clicking this. Then I use the password. Even though you can always come back to change it, I'll put the email I want to use. Then I choose the package as usual. Then I change this to automatic. Then what else? Nothing. Then I click on create. So we give it some time. Okay. Then it's done. So we have our new account. So to check the account you just created, so I'll just list accounts so we can see how it looks. Then I will also try and show you the what's it called, usage parts that I was referring to them. So we have the two accounts, we have their username, we have their setup date. Then, like I said, you can sort based on whatever whichever you want to set. So in this case now I can sort based on the dicts used. So this is from descending order, descending to ascending order. Then when you click on it once again, then ascending to descending order. So you can do actually a whole lot only from this option you have here. So this will probably be the option you will use most of the time when working on your reseller account. So let me just go ahead to show you what I wanted to show you. So you can see here now that we have 1,000 and we have 2,000. So I think this is even shedding more light to the question we asked the other time regarding how many accounts you can create on that package. We really don't limit by number of accounts. If you can manage your resources very well, then you can create as much accounts as you want. Okay, so I'll go right to modifying user. So under modifying user, we still have what's it called, changing password for the user, then changing the package for a user. So I will just pick the three all together so we save some time. So like I said, there are different ways you can go about this if you want to modify a user. So like I said, this option is a very good friend of yours. You can do a whole lot from here. So if I want to modify the new account I created now, probably I have a different, maybe started requiring more resources. Then you have a package that have more resources compared to what you have here right now. Then you want to increase this package, then you can always click on the plus sign behind this domain name. Then in a case where you want to change the password, you pick a very strong password, you paste it here, then you click on change, or you can manually type it, whichever one you want. You can always change your password from here. You can also change contact email. You can also suspend an account. Then to change the plan of the user, you can easily scroll a bit down, then you see change plan here. Then if you want to delete the user, you can always do this. But I will always advise before you terminate any account, be sure that you really don't need it again. Yes, of course, we might be lucky to have a backup of the account, but luck don't come all the time. And it's always advisable that from time to time, we try to keep what's it called, backups for accounts that are created on our what's it called, our reseller accounts. The reason for that is, yes, number one, it might look stressful to you and it might be a very big lifesaver one day, because most what we advise is any user that have a cPanel account, you always back up. There's an option in cPanel that allows you to back up the whole account. just keep it somewhere, not even on the hosting account, because if the hosting account gets deleted, then the backup gets deleted. So it fits the purpose of keeping the backup in the first place. So if the user have a backup saved locally, probably he does it at intervals. Probably he takes backup of his account on a weekly basis. Even he can do it on a daily basis, but that will be burning data, especially in a country like Nigeria. So I will advise you, just for safety, since you are providing services to people, it's always best practice to keep backup of your accounts, because we never will know. And it could also be a good source of revenue for you as well, because if you have a backup for a user, and the user is even meant to keep his own backup and is not keeping it, you can choose to charge the user for it, just to complement whatever extra effort we put into that. Okay, so I don't have a different plan, but we can always change plan for you, like I said. So you choose whichever new plan you want to change it to, then you upgrade. So you can see it will show you the statistics of what you can do from here. So even if you want to put the user on a package that has resources more than what you have on your account, then it will show you a limiting factor here. So right now you can see it has even calculated the number of accounts you can create on this particular package. So at this rate, if you are assigning this particular amount of resources to accounts, then you'll be able to create 19 accounts without issues using this same package. 19 accounts. So we created one already, remaining 18. Yeah, so we have that information written over here. All right, so I think that's that about editing, deleting, then changing password. I think that's pretty straightforward. But also, in some cases, probably you want to change, a user forgot his password, and you don't want to set the password for the user. You want the user to set the password himself. You can easily click on Force Password Change. Then you select the user you want to change. You want him to change the password. Then let me click on Submit. So let me copy the user. So I try to log in after. Okay. So that has been done. So let me try. I will reload this now. Let me log in. Then first that user. Let me just use a random password. Sorry, this one you really have to remember your password if you're going to do it. But probably you think the password of your users are compromised and you want to force all of them to change it. You can easily select all. Then you click on force. The moment they input the right password, then it prompts them to change their password immediately. And changing the password for the user can also be done here. It's similar to what we did there the other time, but this one is just there. So you select the user you want to change the password for. You select new password and you click on change password. So it's just a more dedicated option for that. But like I said, the list account is a very powerful tool for you to use to actually manage accounts at a very fast speed if you are in a list or something. Then we talked about changing package or plans for user. Then we talked about changing password. So modifying the user is actually a collation of everything. So let's assume that you have a case now that you want to improve the level of security you have on accounts created on your reseller accounts. So what you can do is enable two-factor authentication. So what two-factor authentication does is that even after logging in with password, it challenges the user to verify with a code you already configured with the cPanel initially. So let me show you how to go about that. So you just look for two-factor authentication there. So under Security Center, under the section Security Center, you see that. So you click on two-factor authentication. So over here now, since the what's it called? The primary domain of our reseller account is webinardemo.com. So basically, that's what we want our user to be seeing, since that's the main domain we are using to offer to them. So I click on save here. Then I go to manage my accounts. It's currently disabled. You can see the what's it called, the information here is currently disabled. So from manage my account, you can see it's not configured at all. So to enable it, you click on setup two-factor authentication. So I believe Google Authenticator should be able to work for you for this. So you can use your Google Authenticator to scan the QR code, or even if you don't have a QR code, then you can use the information. If you don't have a QR code reader, sorry, you can use this information over here to manually configure it. Then after you configure, you input the Okay, so I think that's that about this section. So let me give time for questions if we have any so far. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so in that case, I'll take we are all moving along with this, and that's great. That's really great. So okay, great. So I'll go right ahead to the next what's it called? So let's talk about customizing your user experience. So I know it's something really nice and something really cool if you can have a custom page that is what's it called, created on each account that you create on your reseller account. So whenever you create a new account, just like the Ughost under construction page, you can have something customized for yourself as well. So to accomplish this, let me take you to the option what's it called, cPanel, that you can use to do that. So you won't do it from WHM actually. So you can easily do this from the cPanel interface of what's it called, the main account. When I say the cPanel interface of the main account, you can come to list accounts here. Then you can click on this, the main account. So you log into the cPanel and you log into the cPanel, then go to File Manager, then add the index.html file. Upload it into the folder that I will show to you now. So cPanel call it a skeleton directory. So for every account you create on this reseller account, that will be the default index.html file that will be put in all accounts that is created on it. So maybe you want to say something nice is coming soon with probably gangbadihost.com. Thank you for patronage. Anything you just want to put, I'm just trying to make illustrations. So this is the file directory that you'll be looking for in your cPanel. If it's not there before, then you can equally create one, but I believe it will be there. So let me log into the cPanel so we'll take a look at that. So under File Manager, so we can see the cPanel 3 skeleton file here. So all you just need to do, under public_html, you upload the index.html file, the default one you want all accounts to carry when you create you. Okay, so that's the first part. Then customizing the suspension page. So if you suspend a user for any reason and you want him to see something that you also customized, so where you will go to is web templates editor. The problem here is the domain I'm using is actually not what's it called? It's not a registered domain, so I can't preview most of these things. But basically, what you need to do is to customize your suspension page. You probably you have an HTML file already you want to use. That well, most of the resources it will be using should mostly be links, because well, you can use file paths too. You can use file paths too. If and only if it is no, I think you should just stick to link to avoid complications, because that one will even require a lot of other custom changes. So you just paste the content of the HTML file here. So you can right now, I think what it will show you should be currently suspended or something. Then contact your hosting provider. So I think that's what it will just say for now. For more information, it won't say anything extravagant. So if you want to make it look more classy or look more good, you can paste your HTML file you want to use for your suspension page here under web template editor. Then you go to account suspended. Then you can change it. Well, I don't think this one will require mostly, because for accounts you created, everything will work perfectly, and I don't think you are migrating between different servers by yourself. So I don't think all this will be important. But for account suspended, the moment you paste it, you can preview. What I'm trying to say before, this won't work because it's trying to access what's it called, this directory on a domain that is not really functional. So so I'll go back to the previous page. All right, so I think that's that about customizing suspension page. Then branding your cPanel, that one will be is very I think is important in all cases actually. If you want to make the cPanel feel of your users to what's it called, to match what your brand is, then you can come under the customization options here. So under this option, you can set your company name. So let me do demo link. Then help link. Probably on my website, I have a link to FAQs that will help users to find solution quickly to problems they encounter on the hosting account. I can put a link here in the format of HTTP, or you can use HTTPS, depending on if your site is running on secure or insecure connection. So you put the domain name and you put the full link basically to your help link. Then if you have a link to your documentation, if any, it's not compulsory that you put the details there, even if you don't have it. Then you can change the logo, the cPanel logo that shows inside the cPanel account. So I mean this, you can change it to the logo of your company. You can also change the logo of webmail when you are in the webmail interface of the user, what it will be. Then your fav icon, which is this what's it called, this icon we have, this CP icon, you can change it to probably your company logo, so the feel looks very great. So let me click on save for this, then I will see how it looks on this end. So you can see the name has changed to Demo Inc. instead of cPanel. So let me see what else you can change. So you can change the look of cPanel accounts created under your reseller account. So you have different options there depending on whichever. If you like the old classic look, you can choose this. But obviously I hate it so much because it's ugly. So when I reload this, oh, I've not saved the test. even though it's changing. But let me just okay. Let me try again. Okay, so this is how the new theme I have looks like. Then I can change it to whichever one I want actually. So I can change it to the dark theme, which makes perfect sense. I think this is more of a cache problem now. I need to log out and log in, and I don't think we really have so much time for that right now. So you can basically change the style of your cPanel accounts from here. Then let me see. If you have a public contact, probably that means your support contact. If you want to put it, then you can put it here as well. Okay. So and restricting features based on user. I talked about that in feature manager. It's still the same option here. So I guess I'm done with this session too. So let me give some time for questions as well, and if you need any clarifications whatsoever.
Hello.
Hi.
Please, I want to make a request. I
Okay.
joined a bit late, so I want to ask if the recorded session can be sent to us later or something.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Okay, I said I joined a bit late and I didn't really get the major aspect there on
Okay, okay, yes.
and
A copy of this webinar will be provided after this session. So I don't think that would be a problem. Okay.
oh, okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So I would like to know if anybody have any question about the section we just completed right. Okay. So in that case, I will move right ahead to what's it called? The last session to save us some time. So DNS zones, DNS zones, DNS record, depending on whatever I put. The appropriate name actually is DNS zones. So what DNS zones are they are basically information regarding the what's it called? Regarding the IP address. The information that maps what's it called users to your IP address that directs them to the right server hosting your content. So there are different type of DNS record. We have the A record. The A record is basically what points every request that comes to whatever your domain name is, that points is to whatever server is hosting your content. That means it's the one that has the IP address of your what's it called domain name. So your domain name is just a name out there. Without an IP address, it is absolutely useless. So what DNS does is that it maps that domain name to the IP address. So the domain name is now regarded as an identifier for the IP address that it is pointed to. So for different reasons, you might want to make changes, DNS changes for domains hosting on your reseller account. So to do that, you can easily do that from your WHM interface as an admin. You can also do it from the cPanel interface as the user. But I know in some cases, you might not want to wait till when you log into the user account before you can, make things happen. Probably the user just called you and you are already on your WHM, then you can easily just click on a few options and make the necessary changes where required. So what I would just basically I already have keywords I use that makes it easier for me to navigate. So for DNS, I do DNS. For packages, I type packages. For accounts, I type accounts. Then it brings what's it called options under whatever it is you want to do. on your WHM. So I will just type DNS. So this there's a section dedicated to DNS functions on its own. So basically under it, you can add a DNS zone, you can delete a DNS zone. You can also have a cPanel like interface that makes it easier for you to manage it. Then you can edit the zones, edit only MX records if that's what you want. I would advise you stay off this because this is where you can, yes, you can customize zone templates, but if you customize it to something that our servers don't understand, then the domain name you change it for will have issues. So I think you should stay off this. Though even though I really don't think you should be able to do anything, yeah, but let's go with it. Then you can pack a domain from, so packing a domain is adding an alias, a domain alias, like I explained the other time. So you can also do that directly from your WHM. You can also reset a DNS zone to its default. So let's say probably you made a mistake in a zone and you are looking for ways to correct it at the without going through too much stress or contacting support. So far, the person does not have any custom records, any custom DNS zones on his account. Then I can say you can safely reset DNS zone. So it restores to the default zone the account is meant to have. But in a case where the domain is pointing to a different IP address that is not the server IP address, then resetting the zone might be disastrous because it will change the IP address of that domain back to this particular server. And if it doesn't have any content hosted on the server, then the domain will become unreachable. So we need to also be careful of when we use the reset a DNS zone option. Then you can also safely set the TTL. TTL is time to live for a zone. So what it basically does is we have DNS servers around the world. And like I said, like we used to explain, most ISPs use different DNS providers, different DNS servers. So depending on whichever DNS provider they are using, they have a certain, there is always meant to be a certain amount of time that zones from our own name servers will stay on their system. So that we, if somebody is asking their own DNS resolver for a domain name, it won't have to always make the request to our own name server. It won't have to always do that because from the initial request they made, it has already cached it on the what's it called, DNS or that ISP's DNS resolver. So it's cached there for a certain amount of time. So the amount of time at which that DNS is going to stay on that their server is what they call TTL, time to live. So the dangerous thing about time to live is if you set a very short time to live, like TTL, and probably your account got compromised, and for some weird reason, they were able to change the A record, or probably you are even making DNS changes, and you mistakenly change the A record of your domain name. So it's pointing to probably an invalid IP address or an IP address that is not working for you or something. Then if you set your time to live to 1 minute, within 1 minute, the changes are propagated almost all DNS servers in the world. So if your site is going to load nonsense, it's definitely going to load the nonsense much more quicker than when you have a longer time to live. So what a longer time to live does is it makes the record stay on their server longer. So let's say you set a time to live of 24 hours. Then that means after changing your IP address, then you will wait a minimum of 24 hours before the changes is propagated across all DNS servers around the world. So you can equally set it here if you want something more customized. But basically, I would advise you leave it at the default. So let me see for what's it called. If you want to set for probably both of them, you can set 3,600 seconds should be about 4 hours or so. I'm not sure. You can do not to synchronize. If you click on this option now,
the server won't send this to all other servers in our cluster. And that means the changes will not be pushed to the DNS resolver on that of those resolver I was talking about the other time. But if you leave it on tick, then it sets it, then it makes the changes on the zones of the account and let everybody know that the new TTL for this record is now 3,600 seconds. So after 3,600 seconds, any DNS resolver cache that still have it will have to expire that record on there. Then if anybody makes a new request, then they ask our server again. That's when they now get the new IP address of your domain name. So let me just go through, let me edit a DNS zone first. So for the accounts we created already, we have, so for every subdomain you create, the records will still be under the primary domain, which you created the subdomain on. But for aliases and for add-ons, they will also be listed separately here. So far, they are a different domain name. We have this different zone record. So now, the zone record we are changing here is, okay, let's assume that I want to add child names. You won't be able to do that, so don't let me even show you so we don't complicate things. So let me just say I want to edit the MX record of my domain name. So this is what the interface looks like. It looks very rugged, but it's just, you can ignore all this stuff, then scroll down to where the actual records are. So it shows you the record type. So what I was referring to the other time, that if you set the, what's it called, the default name server of that account to be what is at the registrar's end, then you will have whatever you have on your registrar's end listed here. In a case where your child name servers is configured correctly, instead of having this here, you have your child name servers here. So this is actually very important for DNS resolution. It's really, really important. So we can see we have an A record, which is for the domain name, which is pointing to the server IP address. Then we have the MX record pointing to this domain name. So that means the server is handling the mails for this account. This reseller account is managing the mails for this account. So if they send mail, the mail will come to this. And why is that? Because it's pointing to webinardemo.com. And webinardemo.com is pointing to the server IP address. So it's pointing. So in a case where you have what's it called? The primary domain now, this one is pointing to an external IP address. And you use this same MX record, then it will expect that the mails are handled by whichever server owns this IP address. So a simple way around that is we have what's it called? We can create a different record, or alternatively mail.webinardemo.com, which is this particular record here. You can change it from a CNAME to an A record, then point it to the server IP address. That is in the case where this main domain is pointing elsewhere. Then you can use a subdomain that is pointing to the server IP. You don't even need to create a new one. You don't really need to change this particular one. I could have equally have done just webmail webinardemo.com, because we already have a record for webmail here that already points to the server. I can choose to do that, or I can choose to stick to best practice, which is use a domain that is subdomain that is mail related, then point it to the server IP address. Then I use that instead. So I will just use mail. So this means that even if this is pointing elsewhere, my mails are still being handled by this particular server here. So you can make changes to your MX record. You can make changes to your CNAME record. I think we just did something similar to that. You can change it depending on whatever case it may be. Then you can also add more records. You can, what's it called? If you want to add a record, you can easily put, maybe you want to add a record for demo dots or demo.webinar.demo.com. Then you put the IP address of wherever you want to point it to. Here. Then you can add multiple at a time, which is what makes this feature very great. For cPanel, you have to edit the zones one after the other, then click on save. For this one, you can make all the changes you want to make. So let's assume that I want to even delete the record. I can make the changes there. So to delete the record, you just basically undo this, then you just clear this out. The moment you save it, the record will be deleted. So again, it's bringing the option for you to set your email routing option here. Like I always say, it's always best to put on automatically detect configuration. And you can see now that it automatically detected that it's a local connection because of the MX record the domain name is pointing to. So I'll go ahead and click on save here. Okay, so let's see the changes we made. So the record I removed has gone. The one I added is there now. And please don't do the mistake of doing demo.webinar demo. So just adding demo here already implies that this zone is under webinardemo.com already. So this name will get appended to the back automatically by itself. So demo, this already means demo.webinar. You don't really need to type it out. You will notice even in your cPanel when you are making the changes, the moment you type demo, then you click outside the box, it automatically completes it with the domain name for you, or with whatever appropriate thing is going to be for you. So if you type it manually, then it appends it to it about twice or so, and it can poison your DNS record. It's when the record you had will not work, so you just keep wondering that what's wrong with the record I just added now. Then you figure out. So that's that about editing and deleting zone records. Then if you want to add a particular zone record, you can do that with this option. So you can, if you want to add a zone for a domain, probably you want to add it as an add-on under your account, and you change the name servers for some time, and probably is not resolving it. Okay, let me just say, okay, for if you want to register domains like anyone with .co.za, you need to have an SO record. And for you to have an SO record, that means you need to have a zone on the server you want to create the account on. So you can easily add that .co.za domain here. Let's say test.co.za. So cPanel will not allow you to use any name that has test in it. So I'm just doing this because I'm not going to go through the eventual state. So I add the IP address I want to add here. Probably if this is the IP address of the server, I'll use that. But if it's not the IP address server, I'll use some other IP address. Then you have to specify the account you're adding it on that. So there are two ways to do that. You can either search for the account or you can select it directly from here. So if you search for it, it will filter the account out for you. So let's say I want to add the records to be owned by this particular user. Then I click on this user, then I click on add zone. It won't work because I didn't provide an IP. So you see the option to add zone, and then you add this zone. That's a very simple way to add the DNS zone. But I really don't see any much case that you really need to do this, except where you really want to manage a lot of things by yourself. But I don't. But it can come in handy anytime, which is why we are talking about it. Then deleting a DNS zone is kind of tricky. So probably after adding this record for this .co.za domain, so that you can have an SOA record, then so the registration of the domain can go on. After registering, you now want to add the domain on your as an account on this server. it will throw an error for you when you are trying to create the account, telling you that a zone already exists for that domain name. So the next thing you need to do is to delete the zone before you create the account. So if you've added the domain name, it will also be listed there. So you click on the domain name, then you click on delete. But for an active account, you cannot delete the domain name. When you are terminating the account, the domain name will be automatically removed with the account. This is to prevent a lot of configuration issues. So if I attempt deleting this now, this shouldn't happen. It will tell you it's already, you cannot, okay, so you can see the errors given to you. You cannot delete a domain name because it's still configured for Apache use, HTTP use on this user. So in order to remove the domain, they should perform this. You either terminate the account or you modify the account. They probably change the domain name to something else. Then you will now be able to delete the zone. But like I said, the best way to, if you don't want the zone, that means probably you don't want the account anymore. Take the backup, download it locally, then terminate the account. That's the best way to go about it. Then, like I said, you can edit, instead of going to edit DNS zone, you can just edit the MX record for what's it called, the domain. Select the domain you want to select, then you edit there. If you want to add a new one, then you can add it, set the priority, then you add, if you want to add an additional one, add another field, then keep adding to you, then you click on save. Then that will automatically add what is required for you. So then I think I talked about, okay, let me show you how resetting a DNS zone looks like. So assuming, okay, I went through with a change on, I think webinardemo.com, yes. So I'm going to reset it now. So by the time I'm checking back, I won't be expecting to see demo.webinardemo.com that I created earlier because the zones should be at their default. So I'll just go ahead and click on reset. It confirms because, like it's saying, all custom entries, including a record, including TXT, including subdomains, including anything you added customly, will be removed. If you added a subdomain from your cPanel account and you click on reset, that won't affect it because it already the record will equally be resetted and it will be fine. But if you do not create a subdomain, but you just create a custom record just for the purpose of pointing it elsewhere, then you can click. If you click on reset, then that gets deleted. So it gives you an overview of what the new zone file looks like. So when I go to, well, I don't really need to go back to this, so I can show you how this cPanel like interface one looks like. So we reset the zone for webinar demo now. So we want to confirm if demo.webinar demo is still on the list. So we can see now that demo.webinar demo is no more on the list of the zones. So these are tools that can help you to easily troubleshoot and fix some issues as much as possible. So I don't know if anybody has any question about this section as well. Okay, so do we have any questions so far?
No questions.
Okay. Okay then. So I will assume I will also hope we all enjoy the webinar session because this marks the end of my presentation. So if you have any more questions that probably I didn't, maybe you remember after this webinar session, then you can always send email to support, then support@ugos.com, then they will equally direct you to the right department to answer your questions. And also don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn so to get updates. So I think Dami or Ada will take over from here. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Laolu. Thank you so much. That was a great session. Thank you. For some of us who actually joined late, so yeah, so the video will be available on YouTube. So just on the comment section, Dami also dropped a link to our YouTube channel. So you can just keep checking. For those who also missed the first series, you can actually rewatch. It's currently on our YouTube channel. This will also be uploaded for those who joined in late to also, watch from the beginning and learn something. And if you have any question, just like Laolu mentioned, you can send an email to support@wogohost.com, and we'll do our best to answer all your questions. Also, I've gotten the emails of those who want us to send them the course packages and all of that for the reseller program, and I'll be sending you the packages and costs and everything, and how you can actually join. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for Alaolu. A big thank you to you. Well done. Well done. So we'll be sending an email to everybody with the YouTube link to watch the video. So I will be having the next section also. We'll be sending a link to everybody, an email to everybody, and also a calendar invite on our next session. So just keep a date with us. That will be happening on the 10th of June. So please, just you can mark your calendar yourself before you get a calendar invite from us. So we're having the next session on 10th of June. So thank you guys so very much. Thank you for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day.